All right, how's it going, everybody? So this is going to be a follow-up video on my original total disassembly Alesis Strike Pro SE kit kind of walkthrough that I did before. So there were a lot of questions on that original video pertaining to the drum wraps and even going into like some of my approaches as far as how I go through and create the content that you guys enjoy on the channel, such as like original music as well as drum covers and even furthermore like different medias of like edits and stuff like that. So I guess first and foremost, the drum wraps that I put on are actually not even drum wraps themselves. They were from car wraps. So the reason for that is because they are a thicker grade, and you can go as thick as even getting like a shell of of a mold, I guess, that you would heat shrink into place. So in my case, I pretty much got like 2 steps above what a regular drum wrap would be. And if you were to take like a regular standard drum shell and feel how thick that wrap is, on some of these like box brand drum sets or stuff that are like stapled and glued on, think about a centimeter thicker than that material, and that's pretty much what I applied to these drums. One of the main reasons being that it's less body to cover on each of the drums. They're only 5.5 inches in width, and each of the drums like obviously have their different measurement. Like the smallest tom, I think it was like 20-inch cut from side to side, so it could fully wrap around the shell. And then you line it up and obviously drill your holes, like your pilot holes, remount all the hardware, which all the hardware already came with the black and gold finish. So I was able to go through and rewrap it. By the way, the official title of the drum wrap that I have is Black Sapphire Marble. So that was one of the ones that like I really fell in love with once I saw it, because I was going for like more of a crimson look. Despite the fact that red happens to be my favorite color, this drum set did arrive in a red sparkle finish. And my only problem with that was the fact that everybody else had that same exact finish. And I like definitely want more of a independent look to my personal kit. So, for the longest time, I had already played on an acoustic kit that was a candy apple red color with sort of like a smoky finish, that I used spray paint on to kind of like not cover up, but I guess give a smoky, darker kind of crimson look to it. And that kit was much larger in terms of like the amount of pieces. It was a 9-piece kit. It was 18-inch bass drum. There was a 8-inch, a 10, and then a 10 in the little, like what would be that little gap. 12, 13, 16, 18 floor toms, and then center snare drum. It had 2 crashes, 2 chinas, 2 hi-hats, 2 ride cymbals, so everything was set up ambidextrous. I had a cable hi-hat running to the left-hand side as I also used my standard hi-hat stand on the right-hand side with my left-footed pedals. At the time, on that former kit, I had these very obnoxious Tama Cobra Junior, I think they were called, pedals that had like a very high chain sound to them. So recording was definitely like a pain with those. So I made the investment on these Axis X left-footed double pedals that are like completely mute. So there's like zero chain reaction because the DW chains that I also upgraded with, those are fitted with felt in the center, and it gives them like a really nice like low to zero sound feedback, I guess, like in the physical world. I guess everything else obviously happens digitally, as you know, with the Alesis Strike Pro kit. All the modules are pretty much the same exact thing, so what I get in my brain you also get in yours. The same edits, the same submenus. The only difference for the Strike kit is you get fewer pads, so you get 1 less crash, 1 less tom. So you would have like this would be your setup as far as like your toms and your bass drum. Your center snare would be there, and obviously on the Strike Pro, you get the extra tom, but then the special edition you get the full bass drum. So I fully maxed out on my hunt to get into electronic drums, where I wanted to have the most acoustic, realistic presentation possible. And when I got it, I actually bought it secondhand. I bought it used, new used, I guess. The person who had it before I did was a studio musician who never even really played on it because he was a singer. So he bought this for his studio and just never put it to use, like any heavy use at least. So when I showed up, it was completely spotless. And to maintain how clean this looks, obviously with the mesh heads, all you have to do is just stick to your regular nylon tip drumsticks. And in this case, I'm using size 7A nylon. And it keeps the heads nice and fresh. It doesn't scuff up anything really. Like you get a little bit of like kind of like fogging when it comes to the cymbals, but they're not a brilliant finish. So you just, even with a damp rag, just wipe all that away, and you have a better, obviously like a better presentation, you know, for a newer video if you wanted to do that. In my case, again, like I totally disassembled the kit, ordered the that wrap, and then totally redid all the things, you know, all the wraps, whatever, DIY. And I had to even cut out some of the notches that supported the bottom baskets for each of these triggering systems. And refer to the first video, you know, to see what I'm talking about. Each of the drums has like a little buck tooth sort of notch that lines up the triggering systems on the bottom basket portion. And just to kind of give you context, the bottom basket is like obviously set right here, but there's like a little notch that it kind of recesses into the drum. And this carries the entire electronic package that is, you know, all the pillars and everything that you get on the inside of the drum is nestled in on that heavier, you know, piece of hardware there. So yeah, as you can see, the hardware is like nice and like, you know, obviously better than that sparkle red. There are still like removable pieces. For example, right here you can see like with just my fingers I can take off the rubber lip there, and I can always like, you know, kind of crunch it back into place and be good for, you know, setting it up on this adjustable height stem piece here. So with the setup as it sits, you know, another interesting thing that I've kind of grown accustomed to using is the regular crash cymbals and how they are held up on a wing nut tip, which the center mount here, like there's a little wing portion that kind of like nestles it between these two pillars, keeping this exactly straight so that way you can hit right here. This is your strike zone. And every, you know, edge of the cymbal has feedback. However, the choke strip is only really between these 2 points. So you can choke it all throughout the bottom portion, so long as you keep that Alesis logo up top. And this is the actual wing nut that goes in between that that little tooth layout thing. And even putting it in sideways, you can see it kind of self-aligns and doesn't really go far, you know, as far as rotation. So I keep all my toppers off so I can have like a nice flow on each of the cymbals. And if you're hitting to a point where the cymbals want to flop all over the place and you're hitting entirely too hard, obviously with my regular you know, 7A nylon sticks, like I don't get too much swaying out of that. And as far as you know, my actual user kits, I have a series that I have developed for both recording as well as my regular like sort of jamming along videos. One of my favorite kits to use is the one that is up top there highlighted. It says Third Eye, and that's actually modeled after Danny Carey from Tool. His kit with his like crazy, you know, sound effects on the snare and his like odd meters and stuff like that. So like I found that to be really interesting as far as like his approach, and so I modeled my kit after some of those sound effects. The one below that is Birch Jazz. I went through and actually sourced out the Birch preset drum set And also used a second layer to input some of the big band orchestral jazz instruments in there to create that kit. Inferno is actually modeled after my favorite drummer, Inferno, from Behemoth, because some of the drum sounds that he gets, like some of the triggers as well as like regular acoustic sounds, are some of the most like beast sounding kits that I've ever heard on recording. So being a huge fan, I had to create one for that. The studio kit is kind of a callback to some of the roll-in kits that I played before. There's always a studio kit set up, I guess. Like there's always a preset set up on those brains. Like any of the TD series, like the 20s and the 30s, well, which don't exist anymore virtually. But like the TD50 even has a studio kit set up. And so I've always liked those preset kits, just if you tune them up a little bit. So that's what I've taken and done on this sort of like user-made kit. The Thoughtless X stick, that's pretty much cross stick, and then regular Thoughtless. Those both are modeled after Korn, the Untouchables album, where David Silveria had a Tama drum set with Peisty cymbals, and I remember they were he had like 502 hi-hats and like the 9000 series crashes and stuff like that were really bright and shimmering sounding, that I really did like. So I replicated some of those sounds and put that into my own arsenal. Also going into some of the presets, you see all the like where that follow the yellow, pretty much like it'll show you all the acoustic setup, all the electric listings, the melodic sound effects, the percussion stuff, and all of these can be accessed obviously by going right and then scrolling down through the kits and then tapping around and kind of like listening as you go. Utility on the far bottom part creates an entirely new user kit from scratch. So like there's no sound being produced on any of these drums anymore. You just go through using each of the voice and note chase features that like you tap on whatever drum and then find the voice for that and assign it. So it is time consuming to build a kit, but for those late nights that I'm feeling like sort of imaginative and creative to create my own subgenre sound, I can go ahead and do that without disturbing anybody. So there's obviously videos out there that also do sound checks on electronic drums, where you'll hear them kind of like set up a decibel meter, and they'll make comparisons like digitally to where you can see how much impedance and how much like room volume these things produce. But as you can see, I'm pretty much tapping along, and pretty much like to the sound of my voice, you can still hear what I'm what I'm saying regular at spoken volume, and I don't have to go and scream over the drums. The cymbals are pretty much the same exact way, rubber cymbals, and the only way that you can get a loud slap out of them is if you stick them on like to the side. Normally playing them at an angle gives them a nice damp thud, and you don't have to worry about feedback as far as that. Now to give you further context, if I actually walk out of this drum room here and then look down the hallway, pretty much to the left is where where let's say people would be sleeping, right? It'd be 3 a.m. and I'm doing blast beats right here in this like fully decked out kit. So that kind of gives you a context that like I can go through and play like the craziest, heaviest of metal, or even some of the most popular tunes that have a lot of sticking on the snare and a lot of crashes and stuff like that, and not worry at all about disturbing anybody. Even like if you have like a box fan, that regular box fan will snuff out the sound of your entire drum set, and all you will be doing is jamming out to the sound that are traveling through your ears, which in my case I'm using regular, this is a gamer headset. These are Razer from I forgot what the actual brand of it was. I forget what the brand was, but Razer nonetheless, and it has that little talkback feature there. But that's pretty much what I use for my main feed, I guess, that my headphones give me with a designated output of volume. And additionally to that, you can see there's another cord here that I use for playback, what I'll do is play music into the auxiliary input and then measure the sound of my drums to that music with this designated volume. So this measures how much of that music you're getting or how little of it you're getting versus your full kit sound. The main volume out goes to these outputs here. So there's left and right, which I have a mono jack attached to that goes to a single cable. That single cable leads over to this iRig, which these are actually fairly inexpensive now. I think this one was like $12 or something, Walmart. So I guess with this regular iRig, you know, that plug going into it, what you can do is actually attach you know, this into your input of your phone, or if you have like a USB Type-C converter, which I do, put that into your input and then film your video. This stand carries the phone up and anchors it to this angle, and this is like, you know, the very familiar angle that you guys might be used to in terms of like how you view the videos of me doing drum covers. And with that all in unison, you get a full drum cover video. So if I'm you know, going that route, that's like the quick and easy setup for that. Now if I'm going for a full studio recording, this is pretty much the star of the show. So like those two main outputs going left and right become left and right, you know, red and gray, to the receiving end that goes into the first and second input of the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. That then goes to my laptop running Reaper DAW, and you know, obviously hit record. I also record direct guitars with my Line 6 Spider Jam, and this was like mid 2000s, like I don't know, early mid 2000s amp that came out as like you know, during the line of like the Spider series, which obviously still had like a whole bunch of kinks to work out. But when they dropped the Spider Jam, this one was like a definite like commodity to get, because it has like the onboard effects and recording you know, user interface thing up top, so you can actually record guitar ideas straight into the amp, and it'll save, you know, to an additional SD card that you put on the back of the amp. So up to 64 gigs of like random jamming and ideas, presets and stuff like that. You also get you know, drum a drum like playback button, so you can choose through different genres to kind of like come up with ideas on the fly. So for creative writing, this is definitely one of the tools that I'm most proud of. And running into that, I have my regular Ibanez RG series lefty flip. I, you know, customized it, and a lot of people think that it's blasphemous, but I took and chopped up the body to make it my own. I have it tuned to drop B, and sitting above that is another customized Schecter Hellraiser C8 Special that I have tuned currently to standard, so that's standard 8-string, and then a drop B tuned bass from Brownsville, another lefty. And so that's kind of like my arsenal for creating noise, I guess. Like I cover pretty much bass, guitar, and in this case drums, and cut my own music. And it'll be 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, whatever, and I'll be up creating this random new song. So then by morning, by daybreak or whatever, I'll go ahead and hit upload, and then you guys get it on your end, and there you go. So another question I guess that came out was the hi-hat. So this is a hi-hat that came off of a different drum kit that was, as I've mentioned before, a Pearl Export 1992 drum kit that had like 9 pieces. It was, you know, a huge kit. So when this kit, like when I took it apart, pretty much, I sold that that Pearl drum set and then saved up to get this one. Altogether, pretty much the assembly of the hi-hat, which is a major difference in the Strike Pro SE, is that you get, you know, your spring loaded tension in the center. Here's like a regular, you know, support grommet piece, and then that sits over the actual trigger. So this is what controls your pedal, and then the downforce of this controls your hi-hat, and that's pretty much what controls that entire assembly. So for the most part, that's you know, it's sitting on a regular two-legged hi-hat stand from Pacific, and there you go. That's what makes the entire kit. All of the mounts are circular mounts, regular C clamps given by Alesis, as well as even the one that carries the module. All the hi-hats, all the crashes, even the L rods that carry the toms, and yeah, so it's all pretty sturdy hardware, so long as you tension them the right way and angle them the right way. So my total setup is pretty much 2 up top, 2 down low, so 2 high toms and 2 floor toms pretty much, and snare sits right in the middle, and that's what makes up the entire kit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned, you know, or hopefully I answered some of your, you know, questions that you had from that former video, and this is pretty much like the end result. So earlier in the video, you may have noticed like 2 attached pictures. I'll go ahead and attach them on the outro as well, so you can see the final product of how this looks in different lighting, and I think it came out pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next drum cover, in the next video, whatever it may be. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.